was me. That's why we're late, but it's okay because we got some fun things to talk about here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. That's Coop, and I'm, of course, your host, Jay. Thanks for being here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate us, then review us and give us 5 stars. I don't think we deserve it. Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So on today's episode, me and Coop's gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk about the early schedule for 2025. We're gonna break down each opponent and talk about what they've got on their side, as well as how we feel like it compares to what the Sooners are doing on our side. So Coop, happy Sunday, my man. How's it going?
Brother, man, just doing well. A little snow football. I know that you're not a big snow football guy, but man, I here's the thing, man, is like getting to do this, getting to talk about some of these things. The snow football, Sooners, still just big brand, just doing cool things in the middle of January when you're not even playing. Not much to hate about that.
Yeah, it's true. That's the best part is that we can do it. And thank y'all for pulling up here in the chat. We appreciate it. It's a blessing to be able to do it, especially here in the season. Good time. We've got the holidays. We got football. You know, we get the NFL's divisionals. Then you'll have conference next weekend, and then a couple weeks later, we get the Super Bowl. And as I told y'all last time, before, if y'all heard, you'll see some changes coming on the channel over the next few weeks. So just keep your eyes open for that and all of that or whatnot. But besides that, I'm trying to see. Why is let me disconnect you. There we go. Trying to get everything disconnected properly. Thank y'all pulling up. Yeah, I just saw Mark Andrews decide to fumble the ball at the wrong time. It's been a brutal game for our good friends over at all of our Sooners in Baltimore. It's just not been a good game for us today. But besides that, I'm going to pull this up because there's a purpose for this entire conversation and us hanging out today. Do I want to use that one? No, we're going to use this one. Yeah, we'll do this one. So I think this one actually lines up a lot better. Let's see what it looks like. There it goes. Is that how I want this to look? Give me a sec. Let me adjust.
You know, it's crazy while you're adjusting your settings here, man. It's crazy. Like what is it? I was watching the Philadelphia game and it was like 10 degrees cooler here than it was in Philadelphia, and it was just like a blizzard there. And
bananas, right?
Yeah, kept on it, kind of catching me off guard. But yeah, the only thing I like about the snow football is the quickness. And it was, you got to have to be quick. You got to get the ball out. There's been so many times, in the last 2 games that there have been, plays to where guys probably make them in good weather. But all right, so I wasted my time. So now we can talk about this.
No, I totally agree. Playing football in this. I've played football in the blistering cold before, and it doesn't feel good. Nothing about it feels good. It doesn't feel good. You get hit. It hurts. Everything hurts. Everything hurts. And as you now saw, injury just come out of this. The longer the game goes on, the more it hurts. It's just painful. Just painful. But
they'll be at it.
Some people like it.
Too.
Some people like it. Some people like it. Some people enjoy it. I'm anti-cold football. But anyway, we're here because we're going to hang out and we're going to talk about this bad boy right here, which is the 2025 schedule. Of course, the SEC released it, and we've got this beautiful specimen in front of us. I actually need to adjust this a little bit because I think I want to add the chat to it. It'll be all right, though. But you can see we've got a nice reveal of the schedule. You've got, Illinois State, Michigan. We traveled to Temple, which is going to be a fascinating game. Auburn, Kent State, then Red River, and then all your next set of SEC matchups your second layer, I guess. First layer is Auburn, which is a solo act right before a bye week. I thought that was kind of funny that they just kind of put Auburn right there and then threw a bye week in there and gave us Kent State, which gets
Double,
so
double
many
bye.
people upset.
Double
Huh?
bye before Texas. A double bye
A
before
double
Texas.
bye.
You have a
Boy,
you let this defensive staff basically plan for 2 weeks against
bro,
first time starter Archie.
bro. The Texas people were mad about that. They were pretty upset.
Oh, I'd
Like,
like to
that's
listen
all
to
I was seeing.
Texas complain about their schedule
They were
for
mad
several hours at a time.
because they traveled to the swamp right before they play against Oklahoma. But anyway,
The resurgent Gators, resurgent Gators.
the resurgent Gators. You get Billy Napier's Gators out there. So let's go ahead. Let's start. All right, first game of the season. I mean, of course, it's pretty simple. We've got Illinois State. Illinois State Redbirds is their team. Who is their schedule for 2025? Do they have this up? How did they do last season?
Wait, who are you saying?
Illinois State. I'm gonna go to the standings real quick so I can see. I wanna compare how they did last year to this year. I had some of this stuff written down and I just did not grab it. So we will work with what we're working with. They begin the year. See, last year, where are they?
While you're taking a look at that, every time I look at Illinois State, I've said that we were playing Ball State week 1 about 37 times.
I know, right? Yeah, they were 10-4 last year as they are an FCS school. 10-4 last season, which you can't beat that.
No.
10-4, 6-2 in conference out of Missouri Valley Football Conference. Missouri Valley. So we cook them boys. We have a chance cooking them.
Yeah, it's listen, man. I'm just saying it does not matter what last year was. It doesn't matter. This is Oklahoma. Yeah, we had a struggle on offense. We've made wholesale changes. Like, it does not matter what Illinois State's schedule was last year, 2 years, 2021. It doesn't matter. You need to go out there and just, that's one where you roll out 60 by half and, head inside and start getting ready for the following week.
Exactly. Even if it's an FCS school, you should have destroyed them by X million touchdowns. Next game, we're going to go right into it, Michigan. Michigan is very intriguing because Michigan has a lot of changes. Football schedule and Michigan depth chart. Because Orgy is over at UNLV.
Yeah.
So that's one quarterback gone.
Davis Warren was the other quarterback, and he transferred. He was the walk-on, right? And did he transfer somebody somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, he tore his ACL. He tore his ACL in the bowl game. So
yeah, he was done anyway. There was no playing for him.
Yeah.
And Jaden, who was one of their transfer quarterbacks, is gone. The other one is Jaden Davis, if I'm correct, is the other quarterback that they had.
Yeah.
This game is done for the Ravens.
Unless they pull somebody in the spring transfer portal that is going to walk in and probably start. I mean, you're looking at the 5-star freshman Underwood, from Michigan, starting at quarterback. And
for us, that's extremely favorable. You would want a true freshman starting week 2 on the road against your defense.
Yeah.
You do. Now, Jaden Davis was a 4-star prospect, top 100. He's 112th in the country, the number 9 quarterback in the nation in his class in 2024. So you've got him that's coming in, and then you've also got the 5-star quarterback in Underwood. Question is which one of those are going to win the job. Now, Jaden Davis, in defense of him, he had a lot of schools after him: Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, right? Georgia, LSU, Texas, Oklahoma. We were in the sweepstakes for him too. Like, there was a lot of teams after him. So it wasn't one of those situations where you're dealing with a guy that nobody wanted. This was not that. This was one of those, he was sought after. I wonder if he wins it.
He's going to have the opportunity, and they play New Mexico, I believe it is, their first game of the season. So they'll get a nice little tune-up there. Also don't forget this. They're going to be coming to Norman, Oklahoma on September 6th. And it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. And
coming from the north, playing in the south, it's going to be hot.
Yeah, so that's something that if we return the favor and have to go up there late in the year, that's something that we get a little payback there. But yeah, you're going to have a good. They lose some big defensive guys too. They lose the big defensive linemen. They lose defensive backs, safeties. They're going to have a lot of changes too. Now they've done good on recruiting, even this 2024 class. But again, how can you infuse that much talent immediately? They did some good work in the portal. So, but this is one that where the programs are at. This is one where I'm thinking if it's OU going to Michigan, that's where I'm saying like, hey, you got to go out there and prove something. This is one that. If you're Oklahoma, this is one that you need to win at home because, I saw Sooner Cowboys said it earlier. This kind of tells you what your year is going to look like because you're not facing a daunting challenge in week 2.
Yeah, this is definitely one where I think the Michigan game is the best determining factor for the season, and we'll do more. Of course, we'll do another deep dive in the summer whenever we actually get. An idea of who's coming back for both for the program, especially the spring portal. Spring portal will probably be your biggest determiner of what everything's going to look like. So we'll focus on right now, and then we'll break down more of that later. But their offensive line is pretty young. Now they grabbed a couple of them players out of the transfer portal. Actually, they grabbed one interior offensive lineman, some D linemen, some safeties. So they got a couple guys from Arkansas. They got the Metcalf brothers at safety. They did get Justin Hayes from Alabama, the running back. Damian Payne on the D line. Trey Williams from Clemson. They've added some pieces, and then they got Mikey Kinney. Is their other quarterback, and he's the quarterback from Fresno State. So they may actually have a little bit of a veteran presence there, Coop.
Yeah.
But I guess the question's going to be, because when I looked at their depth chart, they've got a few upperclassmen still on the line, but a lot of redshirt freshmen and freshmen outside of that. Like, they got a lot of young players going into next season. So for them, it's going to be all about making sure that these wide receivers they get in as transfer can go ahead and compete and take jobs because they kind of need it. Especially Donovan McCulley, the wide receiver we was after from Indiana that we had questions about. Yeah, they got a lot. So week 2 is a lot of questions. Week 3, we traveled to Temple. Temple was bad. They fired Stan Drayton, the head coach there. So I'm not even concerned about that game, to be honest. Flying to Philadelphia is going to be fun, but they're doing a lot of changes. So we'll see what they look like on their refresh. But then you got Auburn coming to town. And Coop, I'm really intrigued by this game. Who's going to be the quarterback? Give your first guess at quarterback.
You sure as hell hope that what you paid for Jackson Arnold, you can fix whatever his ills are and, put him out there. And, because they brought in 2 guys, right? They brought in somebody else at quarterback too. But
Ashton Daniels, the quarterback from Stanford.
Okay.
And he's old.
If you're Jackson Arnold, listen, man, this is something where you're probably in the portal again next year going to Ball State or something like that. With if you don't manage that.
Oh, delusion. Am I gone? I can't hear you, Coop. Think we lost Coop. He done broke something. He done beat somebody up and lost it. But no, yeah, you've got the depth chart there is going to be intriguing, if anything, because y'all can hear me? Y'all can't hear me? Y'all can hear me? Can y'all hear me? Let me unmute myself. Okay, I can hear me. Coop is gone now. We just lost Coop. All right. Something must have disconnected on his side. His mic's muted, but we can read the lips. Thanks, Lemon. I appreciate that. Perfect. Y'all can hear me. I'll continue to talk through it as we wait for Coop to make his valiant return. I'm looking at Auburn's depth. Now, the big thing with them is, man, the wide receiver room is going to be really good for Auburn. They've added a ton at the wide receiver room. I like the Singleton Jr. pickup. I think he's probably one of the better pickups that you get out of the portal from Georgia Tech. That was huge. That was a huge pickup for them. Let me switch this to just me while we wait for Coop to get back. There he is. Now I can hear you, I think.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. I wonder if something got unplugged or something, or just the internet was acting weird.
Something to that extent.
All right, we'll go with it.
With Auburn, I mean, if you're Jackson Arnold, you got to win that job because, I mean, you're going to be transferring. If you can't manage that, I mean, the kid from Auburn, I mean, kid from Stanford, you know, that's a breaking case of emergency if, like, Jackson doesn't turn out. So
and the other quarterback behind him is what, Deuce Knight?
If he shows up on campus.
I don't see why he wouldn't.
Well, I'm just until he's there, you got to show. I mean, that's
fair.
That's what you're doing. But you do have some options at quarterback. You know, obviously, if you hear that there's a big quarterback battle, you know, let's wait and see what it looks like on the field. Because I mean, at that point, you got to think that Auburn, we're going to have a good idea of what they kind of are. You know, in Auburn early in the season, they can always do some really, really fishy things, and you know, like lose to New Mexico at home. So. You know, there's a lot to go on there, but I mean, I just say this is I don't think very many people are going to see Jackson Arnold as the starter and be scared. You know, here now, unless he turns things around and really gets to, you know, being what we thought he would end up being. So, but there's just a lot of stuff that he did here, from just not seeing things to, you know, at times making great plays and at times just making some of the most simple things just look absolutely just terrible, you know, terribly hard. So it's going to be an interesting game because he's got the receivers to throw to there.
Yeah, that's true. He's got some weapons. They've added. I think that Eric Singleton pickup to go with Cam Coleman, huge for what Auburn's going to be trying to do. But two quarterbacks, you've got. I don't really see any big threats in the portal pickups, and I mean they ain't got very many. They got a lot of young backs that they're gonna be working with, so we'll get to see what that looks like. This should be a win at the crib.
Yeah.
Should be a win at the crib. The question is going to be the pressure and can it be handled? And we all know that Hugh Freeze has a tendency of making decisions that we all question. That's just kind of his game. That's kind of his MO. Right? So you go on from there. Next game, the bye week. How do you think we can fare in that bye week, Coop? I'm a little nervous.
Well, I mean, you got bye week number 1 and you got bye week number 2. You know, Kent State was one of the worst teams in college football last year. And so, I mean, at this point, you're hoping that in the bye week, you get to really shore up everything. Typically, this is where you see, you know, about 4 or 5 games in, this is where you see the offensive line usually starting to take steps. You know, when you're playing with a fully healthy unit, you're gonna have Texas on your mind, and so it's about keeping keeping each day in front of you at that point in the bye week and in the Kent State game, because you're going to get your chance at Texas, and you just got to do the right things, get yourself healthy, whatever nicks and dings and bruises that you have, get working on those things.
Yeah, and the wide receiver that lit us up at Auburn was Keandre Lambert-Smith.
Lambert-Smith.
Lambert-Smith was the one. He's senior. Lambert-Smith's a senior. He's
oh,
gone.
so he was? Okay.
Yeah, he was a transfer. Can't think what was the school that he came from, but he transferred in. Penn State. I think he actually transferred from Penn State. One of the many Penn State wide receivers that transfer because they're not getting catches or passes thrown to them. Extremely fascinating phenomenon, if you ask me myself. That's just wild to me. But he's gone. It's now all about basically Cam Coleman, and now Eric Singleton is going to be their other probably primary wideout with some of the young other freshmen that they have with Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane, Perry Thompson, etc.
Simmons is the one I was thinking about.
Yeah, Simmons was the other wide receiver. Yeah, he got a couple catches as well. But Kent State, the bye week makes me nervous. I'm curious to see how that goes. But then, of course, Kent State was one of the worst teams in college football last year, so I think we should be fine there. But then you're right. Then you got Red River. Red River is going to be interesting this year. And it's because with Red River, the question is, what is Texas? I mean, you've got your starting quarterback coming back. You lose a good crop of linemen. Banks gone. You got Coleman, Cameron Wilson gone. Majors is gone. Hayden Connor's gone. So now it's all these young pups moving up. Gooseby gets out there as a redshirt sophomore, and he played a little bit last year, and it appears that people liked what he did. He
took up with anytime Banks went down, or anytime, was it Cam Williams? Was it Williams on that side?
Cam Williams, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're going to be replacing quite a bit. And I promise you this, I looked at everything they had to replace this past year, and that's where I thought Texas was going to have a really big struggle. What I didn't expect was some of those smaller wide receivers to turn out to be big-time playmakers. Yeah. And so, Arch is going to have some receivers, and he's going to have to move around. So that mobility is going to come in use for him. I think this is why you see that they made a very, very, very strong run at Fasusi, was because they need somebody to come in next year. Yeah, they need it to happen. And now, that being said, I mean, their trajectory at this point still has been more true than ours. So you handle your business, and you go out there with the opportunity of winning that game to win that game, not to pay back for last year, not to do anything else, just win that game to win that game.
Yep. And they lost, defensively, they lost, 3 defensive linemen. You lose 3 in the secondary. Mainly you bring back your linebackers. I think Trey Moore's coming back, so they got their edge back. You're losing... Yeah, you lose about 2 or 3 in the secondary.
Makuba, I would say Makuba's probably gone, right?
No, Makuba's already gone. He already announced. Makuba's announced to the draft, and Jade Barron is gone.
Jade Barron, Muhammad, Taffy.
Muhammad's a sophomore. So he comes back next year.
I know Taffy has said that he's coming back. He was their safety, the walk-on, and I'm pretty sure that I was, there are going to be a lot of people wanting to crack at him, because he's played out of his mind, and he's done really, really well. But yeah, they're going to have a lot to replace again, the spring portal is going to have to be hot for them, and they're going to be spending in that spring portal.
Yeah, they're gonna be very big because they only brought in 4 transfers, and we talk about classes. Cool to have the top class, but if they're all true freshmen, you don't want them to play. Like, you're not gonna run into any teams that are cool with playing a whole bunch of freshmen. That's like the one thing you don't want to do as a program is play a bunch of freshmen. So, but they'll be active in the spring portal. Only having 4 transfers so far. We'll see what that looks like. They brought in a defensive lineman with Travis Shaw from North Carolina. You've got Cole Brevert, another defensive lineman, the one from Purdue. And then linebacker Brad Spence from Arkansas is transferring in, and then they got a punter. 10 transfers out. It always cracks me up. Tassili Akana. Tassili Akana went back home to BYU.
Yeah.
He's a lot smaller than I thought he was going to be, too. He's only still 220 pounds.
Yeah, he had, I think him and Darius Afalava are still good friends. And last time I talked to Darius about that, I guess he had a little bit of a back injury early in the year. And just try, again, what it's like to have a back injury. Like it shuts down pretty much everything. And so,
yes.
He had a little bit more opportunity to play late in the year. Kind of think of like an Autry Dent for us, somebody who was hurt for, a good amount and was right there on the cusp of, getting some good playing time.
Yep.
But
that's
he
exactly
left.
what it is. So, yeah. Moving there. Next game, we get South Carolina. That one to me is going to be an intriguing one, too. They're bringing back a lot, if we really think about it. Oh, yeah, by the way, that Texas game. Texas has
commercial break.
Florida is who they had coming. I was searching and I was like, and it just gave me a brain fart. They had Florida at the Swamp right before they play us, which we talked about before. Texas fans were pretty pissed off. It was like, how do we have such a tough schedule before all the big games this year? Why is it so hard for us? Because their bye week is the 20th, in which we're playing against Auburn. They got Sam Houston State. They travel to Florida, and then Oklahoma, and then they travel to Lexington, travel to Mississippi State, and then Vanderbilt. That's kind of a tough. That's 6 games. Whew.
Well, in South Carolina, they got LSU the week before playing us.
Yep.
So we'll be playing Texas. They'll be at LSU.
Yep. It's gonna be interesting. All right. South Carolina.
Jay, I'd say with this South Carolina, this is going to be. This is one of those games to where last year it was over before you had a chance to do anything, and they didn't have their way with our offensive line. They basically, I don't think they could have called a first quarter or maybe a first, maybe 3 drives. I don't think they could have called the defense, scripted it up, and it would have been as ugly as it was in real life. And so,
right.
They're going to have to. They're going to absolutely have to. Get together this offensive line. They need to know who they are at this game, because if you're still shuffling some guys around and trying to find the right fit, South Carolina is going to make you pay. The thing I do wonder about South Carolina, though, Jay, is you had no expectations last year at all.
None.
Now
you got expectations.
You went out and you spent some good money. South Carolina, could have had a better record and a better year than they actually ended up. They're a couple of bad situations against Alabama from winning that game. I think there was one other game that they lost. That again, same exact situation.
LSU and
maybe A&M. Maybe A&M, but South Carolina is a very good team. They didn't just beat us because our offensive line was bad. They literally were a good team, and they bring a lot of that back. Lenora Sellers is going to be back. Those wide receivers, that running game is going to be potent again. It's going to be a tough game. That might be one of the toughest ones on our schedule.
I agree. That the LSU loss, the Ole Miss loss, the Alabama loss. That's when they lost back-to-back games, and then starting with us, they went undefeated for the rest of the season up into the bowl game. So they started the year off. They started the year off 3-3, and that was when everybody's asking questions. Okay, is Beamer going to lose his job? Blah blah blah. And then they rattled off from going 3-3 and finished 9-3. They won 6 straight games. Us, A&M coming to town, traveling to Vanderbilt, Missouri, and then they beat Clemson to close the season out. So they finished the year good.
And they were one of the first 2 teams out with Ole Miss, as far as being in the playoff too. And, they were hot. They were actually hot. So do they, Do they show out and have a better showing than a couple of the other SEC teams? I mean, you don't know, but they are a good team, and I still think that since that's on the road, that's probably the hardest game on our schedule next year.
No, I 100% agree. And I've heard nothing but challenges when it comes to traveling out there. To was it William Bryce? Yeah, heard it's a stadium that is not easy to play in.
And I know that don't want to be the negative Nancy here too, but if next year doesn't go how we expect it, is that does a whooping to South Carolina make Shane Beamer potentially the first name to be talked about as the next head coach at Oklahoma? Just true. Pay attention. Now, I don't expect us to be in that situation, but again, it's right after Texas. It's not like you can look ahead the week before. So, and it's not like we've got an easy assignment the next week either.
Nope, because the next week is Ole Miss coming to town. Now, the thing with Ole Miss, their schedule's interesting because right before us, they're playing back-to-back road games. They host Washington State on the October 11th. They travel to Georgia and play the Bulldogs, and then travel to Oklahoma right afterwards. So back-to-back weeks, they are on the road at two pretty intimidating stadiums. That is going to be interesting to see how Ole Miss handles that with the new quarterback. Because if I'm correct, it's going to be what, Simmons?
Probably Simmons at this point. They really do like him. He's a guy who has been patient and waiting. So 6'4", 215. He will be a true sophomore out of Miami, Florida. So I mean, yes. This is a cat who.
And he skipped 2 grades. He skipped 2 grades.
And so, is that maturity ready to rock? Is that going to be? Is he going to be ready? And again, time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I mean, he looked good when he played. He looked good. They brought in 22 transfers. This is going to be a third year. They're going to bring in probably one of the larger transfer classes in the country.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. We saw them kind of fail. When it comes time to grind, the Merc teams are the ones that I still have a lot of pessimism towards. Now I'm eating crow on one of them because the other one that I said I didn't think was going to do anything is playing for the national championship game. That's going to be something to really pay attention to is how does the culture continue to go? Because let's be honest, Lane's a pretty exciting guy and everything, but he's not known as the most disciplinarian out there. And but they really made last year look harder than it needed to be. There's no way they should have even, been in the spot that they were with us. There's no reason why we should have had a lead at halftime. We all started to kind of believe there for half a minute. And so new quarterback, it's going to be Austin Simmons. That's going to be later in the year. You can't say that he's brand new, ready to rock. Thank God this is at the crib.
Yeah, this is 3 years in a row that they have had at least 20 transfers and been the top 2 transfer destination in the country. They were second behind Colorado based on 247 and 23. They were number 1 in 24 with 26 transfers. And now so far in this cycle, they are sitting at 22 transfers, in which I think that is currently, as we sort, they are, as far as total go, they are, 7th? Because like West Virginia, all these schools that had coaching changes have a higher, of course, turnover ratio. Except for Mississippi State, they're right above them, but they're ranked number 2 in the portal as far as transfers. So we'll see.
And again, this is, we're going to be playing 6 first-time quarterbacks. Michigan, Auburn, Texas, Ole Miss, and Missouri, and we get 4 of those guys at home. This will be the second to last one. Again, you want to protect the house. Like that's something this year that it was tough to do with no offense. But if you have an offense with a pulse, you want to protect the crib. And I don't see a game on our schedule in Norman that really is super bothersome.
Yeah. Next up, Tennessee. So at this point, Coop, how many wins do you think we could have? Best case scenario and worst case scenario. Actually, you just do Tennessee first, and then we'll stop at the bye week and give him best and worst case scenario as far as what we've got. So Tennessee is up. Tennessee so far has brought in a quiet 3 transfers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? They have brought in 3 transfers and have 18 players leave out so far.
Last year they got Hurd, and he was the big transfer portal addition for them. I think that one that's not included is the Mitchell. Is it Mike Mitchell? Is he the receiver from Tennessee? Younger kid. Matthews. Okay, so
he didn't leave.
They retained him, and that was a big one. I mean, that's kind of about the same thing as us, keeping an R. Mason Thomas or a Grayson Halton type of situation. Yep. That's big for them because I believe Squirrel's gone. Thornton is graduated. So, I mean, they're Brew McCoy, I don't think he gets
He's returning. He's returning. He's got one more year left. Yes, he's got his 14th season, which actually COVID kid, so he's got one more year. He got this COVID season he's going to use. So this will be the last year COVID guys.
And then,
but they got Brazel is back. Brazel will be back. Thornton is gone. You're right. Mike Matthews did come back. Squirrel White's out. They got Braylon Staley, the true freshman, is still there, and Sneed. Then you got your offensive line. They've got 3 seniors walking out the door. That's expected.
They lose the running back, but they got the Duke running back the other day in the transfer portal.
They lost Sampson. They still got Deshaun Bishop. Running back, he was really good. Him and Peyton Lewis were actually pretty good. But they did get that transfer running back from Duke, which is Star Thomas, which that just recently happened. Yeah.
I want to say like last week.
Yep. And then Amari Jefferson is the wide receiver from Alabama that's switching sides of the rivalry. And yes, Dylan Sampson's gone. He's going to the league. He's not coming back.
Yeah, he's going to.
He's day 2. Easy.
These running backs, I mean, you got to hope that like you are sparingly used your freshman year, you show out your sophomore year, your second year or whatever, you get help your junior year, and you can go to the NFL with essentially one good solid season on your body. Because I mean, let's just be honest, you're running into 300-pound guys who are just as fast as you and stronger than you every single play, and that's just tough. It's just tough on these running backs, and in the league no longer values them like they used to. So I mean, if you're a running back, you need to bounce when you can, and find whatever path you can. I mean, if you need to be like all Mr. Samaje Perine, I know I said this before, but I mean, I don't think any of us had him playing as the third down back role in the NFL. Right. He was at Oklahoma, so. Brew is vested in college football. Mark, you are 100% correct. That is pretty funny too. It's going to be interesting because at this point last year, Jay, we were saying we got Tennessee at a good time in the year because we catch him early.
Vested.
Now, like, I think Nico has a ton to prove this year, this is by this point. If he's nicked up, he's going to, it's going to be a big deal. We're going to know who he is by this time that year. I'm not as sold on that being as tough as I thought it might end up being at this point last year. I think it's a little bit more of a winnable game, but you're still going to Leland. You're still going up to, Knoxville. It is crazy up there. We've been up there before. You got to play a game. on both sides of the ball to make that to make that a W. So it's going to be a tough game. And again, I think Nico is going to be tied to a lot of these quarterbacks. He's going to be one of the best returning quarterbacks in the league. And so people are going to have eyes on him every single week, making sure that, he's hitting that 300 passing mark, because a lot of times this past year, Tennessee fans, I mean, listen, I encountered a ton of them on Twitter this year. Got pretty close with, exchanging information. They thought they had a good year, but they thought it was going to be bigger. They thought it was going to be better. And and Nico needs to show out, because right now I would say that he's probably not what we thought he might be, not as good. He can still be that. I'm not saying that he will not, but yeah, I know that you are a huge Nico guy, and I know that Tennessee, for both of us, is kind of got a special place in our hearts. But man, it's that's going to be a fun game to go to. You're going to that one, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to Knoxville for that one. Definitely going to have that on my calendar of places. I've been to Knoxville a couple of times. Love going to Neyland Stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. Raymond, no, Nico has not entered the transfer portal. Nico is at Tennessee now. The rumors can continue to be spread that he's gone, but until he officially hits that portal, can't say a word for me to believe that he's actually gone. But this is the tough part for Tennessee, though. This is what I'm looking at here is their schedule. They've got Arkansas coming to town, which is fine, but they travel to Tuscaloosa for the third Saturday in October, rivalry game, big. Then they travel to Kentucky, which is always a physical game for everybody. Everybody talks about how physical that game is.
It is.
And then they have us come to town. So 2 back-to-back road games against physical teams, these are quote-unquote rivalries too. Alabama is a rivalry. Kentucky kind of is a pseudo rivalry, right? So it's like a border rivalry. It's
a Bourbon Trail rivalry.
Exactly. But then they have Oklahoma come to town afterwards. That the blessing we've seen in our schedule in comparison to last year is we are like every other week traveling and going home. Keep that in mind. Yeah. That's huge.
Hey, Jay, pull up that. Remember who the quarterback at Kentucky is this year? It's the Transformer. It's going to be Malik Murphy. So they get to go to Alabama, who's starting a newer guy, is most likely going to be run heavy. They're going to lean on that running game. And so you're going to have a nice physical trenches war there. The next week you go to Kentucky, and Malik Murphy is not a West Coast quarterback. I mean, he is going to be moving around, and you're going to have to take on a 250-pound quarterback running around. Then you come to Norman, and based off of kind of what I'm hearing, this is going to be a fast offense.
Yep.
So you get to get beat up for 2 weeks and then come to a track meet.
Yep. So you got that. So that's something to keep in mind on the way that they built this roster is what they're going to prepare for in coming to Oklahoma. Like I said, the beauty of our schedule is that we don't have we have back-to-back road games, Coop, but it's after a bye week.
Hey, I am absolutely wrong. I'm absolutely wrong. Malik Murphy went to Oregon State. I started saying that, and it was
Transformers gone. Yeah. Kentucky picked up. Let me pull up Kentucky's transfers.
They got Mensa, Darian Mensa.
Mensa. No, he went to Duke. Mensa went to Duke.
Duke went. Okay, so I'm trying to read. This is going well for me.
All these blue schools you keep picking. Mensa went to.
Might be Quinn Ewers.
That is hilarious. They got Zach Calzada. From Oregon State. No, from Louisville. No, sorry, Incarnate Word. He came from Incarnate Word. But they've brought in 19 transfers so far at Kentucky.
Brock Vandegrift retired from football.
He did. Brock retired. J.J. Hester is there at Kentucky. So they got themselves, that. Him and Kendrick Law. They got a lot. They picked up 19 transfers so far. Sheesh, I didn't think you could pick up that many players. But yeah, they cleaned out because they had 23 players leave. And then Brock Vandegrift retired from the game because it just was not working out for him and his ability. So, yeah, Brock retired. They got Zach Calzada as their quarterback. Yeah,
And if
it's
I'm not mistaken, and because I mean, obviously I have no damn clue what I'm talking about tonight.
it's
But
okay. It's late.
didn't Calzada start at A&M?
I think he
Wasn't it
did.
A&M 2 years ago?
Yes, Calzada was an A&M guy before.
Is that right?
Yep.
See, if I mean, you got to check, you got to fact check me. Somebody has
I'm
to.
fact checking you as we
Yeah,
speak, but
yeah. A&M transfer. There you go.
yep,
Incarnate word, Jenna.
yep,
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So see, I'm not.
yep. Texas
I
A&M,
completely get this.
Auburn, and then Incarnate Word. He was at Auburn for a year.
So it just
He's been all over the
he's not.
place.
Yeah, he's not completely terrible, but I mean, let's be honest. The last I may show my ass on this one, but the last Kentucky quarterback that was really good was the 300-pound guy, right?
Well, I mean, it's Levis, right? I mean, he got drafted.
He did get drafted.
I
Jake
mean,
Locker. So did
there's
Jake
a
Locker. So did Jimmy Clausen. I mean,
Tim Couch.
so listen, if you go to Browns, you're exempt. It has nothing to do with you.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
If you get drafted by the Browns, you get exempt. Yeah, Jared. God, what was his name?
For Kentucky.
Jared Lorenzen.
Oh,
He was like 285 pounds.
yes, the big boy. He was a monster.
And
285. Oh my god.
Man, I want to say that he ended up having like some, mental depression and stuff, I think, but he played in the UFL and he played in the Canadian Football League. And I think I think at one
They
point
called him the hefty lefty.
yeah, hefty lefty. And he got close to 400 pounds before started working on his life. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
I just,
R.I.P. to the hefty lefty.
that Kentucky game, it does not matter who the quarterback is. They literally they are the definition of they'll just lean on you for an
Yeah.
entire game, and you have to earn it. It's like the old Bill Snyder Kansas State teams. Like even if they weren't good, you couldn't just roll in and just check boxes and walk out with the W. Like you had to earn every single W.
No, yeah, you have to earn every single thing that's going in front of you, and that's you got to appreciate a team that's willing to play that hard. And so now we hit the bye week. Coop, at this point, what best case, worst case scenario? And the worst case not being all losses, because we're not going to lose every game. We're not even going to lose every conference game. That's going to be easy.
I mean, obviously, your best case is undefeated. My realistic best case at this point is one loss.
That's my best case too. I don't see us going undefeated. One loss to me is the best case scenario in all of this.
My realistic at this point is 2 losses at this point. I think South Carolina is just going to be really, really damn daunting, and I think that one of the UTs gets us. And I mean, I would.
And this is barring injury. We're doing this barring injury, and we're doing it early.
Doing
barring injury super early.
January. I mean, guys, and I'm just saying again, if you have, not like a shitty offense or horrible offense. If you just have a meh offense, this team's 8-4 this past year.
Yeah,
and so
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that if your team is just your offense is just blah, and we're not dealing with what we were dealing with last year, the revolving door of injuries on at only 2 positions, offensive line and wide receiver, mainly wide receiver, you're 8-4. 2 of those, you get 2 more wins out of there. You probably still lose a bowl game, but you get 2 more wins. All you need is you don't need to be giving the ball back as soon as you cause a turnover back-to-back times. That to me is a win. That's your game you won.
I mean,
Missouri, that's your game you won.
We all saw Jackson Arnold. And what Mateer was able to do that Jackson could not do to lesser competition.
Yes.
So if the argument is like, yeah, but who was it against for Mateer? Well, remember, we still went 1 for 12 against Temple on third downs. We
We won
couldn't move the
12.
ball in Houston. We
We
got
were
extremely lucky. I mean, we may have beat Houston because of the bad punt call where it touched them. So
yeah. We went
Jackson couldn't do it against Jackson
1 for
couldn't do it against
12.
competition, and Mateer was just balling on it. So he's never had the talent that he's had. He's also had a very, very bad offensive line. I mean, he got sacked 31 times. So we know that, like, if your offensive line gets some stuff slowly together, he's going to be able to know where to get the ball out. And this offense moves fast. He moves fast. Now, so barring injuries, yeah, I mean, I do think at this point, I think that we
I
probably
gotta
have
point
2
this out
losses. Go for it.
right here. If we have competent offense, we win versus Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Mizzou. Because we were up at the half against Ole Miss. Y'all remember that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all remember that part. We were up at the half. The competence of the offense just disappeared in the second half. Heck, we went for it in the red zone, and we should just win and kick the field goal. We've been up even more points. But I'm just pointing out. Defense did their job. The offense forgot. All right. Next. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, worst case.
I say 5 wins. And what's that for?
4 losses. That's what I'm saying too. 5
and 4 is your worst case.
5 and
Like
4.
And that's losing to Michigan. That's losing to both UTs. And that's losing, well, actually probably losing your 4 conference games. Because I don't think we lose to Auburn. I'm sorry. And I don't actually think we lose to Michigan either.
No.
We could easily go into Red River 5-0. And we could easily win Red River.
Yeah. Listen, again, if you have just a not good offense, you're 8-4 last year. Like, I expect this offense to be pretty good. And from the early testing numbers, again, not a big fan of underwear Olympics and everybody, projecting based off of, some jacked up intensity testing. But these guys that have came in and, some of these receivers already, like, I'm hearing that the skill set is there. Like, it's very good. And we don't, and I just look at Golden for Texas. Like, that guy did not have his name attached to any all conference, any awards or anything like that.
Shocking.
And he showed up and just did great things. And so you don't need these receivers to come in, and we don't need a 1,500-yard receiver to come in with his transfer portal or with, Jaden Gibson coming back or Burks coming back. You just need a bunch of guys who can go out and get somewhere between 400 and 800 yards. And this is going to be Mateer's going to throw for 4,000 yards.
Yep. And it's funny. So, you got Troy Everett that came back from that catastrophic knee injury in spring ball. Terrible. And he looked really good when he got back out there on the field. Amazing, right? How good training staffs can get you taken care of. I love they posted a picture and thanking the training staff, after that surgery, because that knee was bad. And then he came back, and he's probably one of our better offensive linemen for the rest of the season once he got back in the game. Love that. We'll get more of that. All I got to do is get a whole bunch more dudes healthy. And the best part, too, Gentry Williams comes back, and he's about half of what he normally is. I mean, the biggest thing is he probably won't be able to tackle, but he'll be able to defend. Whew. Special. All right. Last 3 games. Travel to Tuscaloosa.
Guys, I'm not ready to call Alabama. I think it's hibernation time. I felt it going into the year. I think that this is. I don't even think it has anything to do against DeBoer. Yeah. I just think that. Think about it. When we were kids, and I'm going for everybody who's 35 plus. When you were kids, and you were acting nonsense, and Dad came into the room, you straightened up pretty quick, right? You did a lot, and Dad left, and you could get a little bit more nonsense. When Nick Saban left, the Saban discount went away with him. I think just that attention to detail. I think that disciplinarian. You were scared because you didn't want to be the guy. Listen, you were not going to win any argument, me versus Nick Saban. Didn't matter if you were an all-world player or not. You just didn't.
Yep,
guys. Just from what I saw from Alabama this year, I saw a bunch of people who just didn't have that same tenacity and that same intensity. I mean, And could Nick Saban team lost to Vanderbilt? Yes. Would a Nick Saban team lost in another game after that year? Probably not.
Probably
Like
not.
they would have ran. I mean, it'd have been crazy. So I just think that I think we go to Alabama and we get a win. I just think that they have some figuring out to do, and it may take a couple years to weed out some guys and get some new guys in there.
Yeah, that's going to be the bigger thing. It's the I don't know. I mean, they lost 24 players in the portal. Their schedule is, let me go find Alabama real quick. Alabama plays They play LSU at home before us. So for them, they have a bye week, and then LSU, us, and a FCS school 3 weeks in a row at the crib. That's pretty beneficial to them. The LSU game's going to be tough at home. We'll be coming off a bye week instead. So, yeah, like actual bye week. Like, we're not playing another team, a little cupcake or anything. We're literally going to be just chilling at the crib. I don't know who their quarterback is, though. Like, and that's no shade. Like, I really don't know. It's Ty Simpson right now, and I think people I know ain't fond of that.
Yeah, I think that's who it is as of right now. Guys, don't. Well, I guess it can't. No, it can't happen. Never mind. I was going to say something else, but I was going to say, what if Quinn went to Bama? But that can't happen. He declared, and so that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
But I would say this is, Bama they have Keelan Russell also coming in. That's their big 5-star, and he is a dude. And
he can play. I like Russell a lot.
Now, here's where I don't think that he can come in and be dominant right away. Keelan Russell also has an enormous amount of talent around him. I think check me if I'm wrong, but
Moore was wide receivers when he was at Duncan.
Moore is one of his wide receivers. I mean, that my uncle writes for the Dallas Morning News and does high school football stuff, and when he talks really, really big about guys, I know that they are something because he is an Oklahoma State fan and he doesn't recognize talent. But I digress. Love you, Brad.
I hope he fights you when he sees you.
Keelan Russell will not have the skill set advantage at wide receiver in the SEC as he does in high school, and because he had some dudes around him. And so, since Jameson Williams left, I mean, Alabama. Now I know Ryan Williams, who is probably 18 finally, but he's a stud. But I mean, I don't know what else they have around him. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's a freshman quarterback. At that point in the year, that's the freshman wall. That's where the nicks and dings and bruises. He's a bigger guy, so he's going to get hit. And they lose a lot of opportunity guys going to the NFL too. A lot of early guys leaving, and guys who would probably maybe stick around for one more year.
Yep. So Keelan Russell, Duncanville, he leads the class, finishes up as top person in the state of Alabama, state of Texas, number 2 in the country. Golly, he finished up hard, right behind Bryce Underwood. So they got a top quarterback out there, and can't beat that. We'll see.
Yeah, it is Trevor Lawrence, and so again, if it's close-ish. And I just saw Zaz said it in the chat here too. I think that maybe Simpson gets the start, and you kind of have a Russell package, and maybe he kind of slowly takes over, and maybe that's a transitioning period, for when they play us. But I just have a feeling that Alabama is in a little bit of a world of hurt, and I just said it, Jay. I did all the numbers going into it, and I said they were worst in the SEC as far as like returning production at running back and wide receiver, complete new style changes and everything. And if you stopped Jalen Milroe last year, they were easy to beat, and stopping him was tough. But if you did it, you could beat him.
Yep. So next game up, you've got Missouri coming to town, which is the good thing for us. Is this is the final 2 games of the season, and they're both home games. So you're hosting Missouri and you're hosting LSU. Missouri got the quarterback from Penn State that they supposedly paid some millions to transfer in.
The backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he any good?
I mean, Drew Aller is the same as every other Penn State quarterback. You can scramble around. You can do pretty good if you're running games going strong. But when it comes time to crunch time, Zach Aller may be the best of all of them. But
Drew
I
Aller?
don't remember. Yeah, Drew Aller, Zach Aller. I just their freshman, their big time 5-star freshman quarterback. He destroyed his knee in the playoffs, high school. In the fall, and so I mean he's not going to be ready, so he's going to be a year behind. But I'm pretty sure the guy that we played against, he probably transferred out. I'm assuming because
Missouri had 17 incoming, 15 out. The big one that they brought in was Bo Prabula, the quarterback from Penn State. He's the one that they brought in as a transfer.
Yeah,
he wasn't rated very high. He was a 3-star, but 6'2", 215, but they paid him. Supposedly, they paid him a lot of money to come here. Go to Missouri. But they end up cleaning the house, too. A lot of players leaving. Luther Burden hit the portal. They lost Marcus Bryant on the line with Cameron Johnson. Brady Cook.
Williams Nwaneri. Did anybody want to take another run at him? He transferred out, but
he's in Nebraska. You got Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel who are league bound.
Hey, listen, I think they return right back to where they typically have been. They
got a lot. Theo We should be gone. Yeah, they got a lot of dudes that are. They got a lot of replacements.
I remember I saw. I remember seeing his little thank you Mizzou, and shout out to my neighbor who passed away. I know that he's a humongous Mizzou fan, and so this was he got to see 2 good years from them back to back. But I mean, they're going to struggle this year. Their schedule is on the weaker side again, but I think they're still going to have fits.
Yeah, and they say the people are pointing out that they replaced Waneri with another player from the portal from Georgia. Damian Wilson. Damian Wilson's actually really good. He's actually a solid player.
And listen, when Waneri, his was a motor issue, and that was the one kind of knock on him. And I know that we have a buddy who talks to a former Sooner on the Missouri Tigers, and he told us same thing. The motor was an issue from the get-go. And, you can't just show up and out-athlete people anymore once you get up there, especially in the SEC.
I'm actually surprised that Damian ended up going there, of all places. But, no, he can play. So they got a good pickup on the line. So they replaced a lot of players. We got to see how that all meshes together. Kevin Coleman coming from Ole Miss is interesting. They got a lot of interesting pickups. I'm really curious to see what their depth chart's going to look like once they get going. But, yeah, 17 in, 15 out. But I don't know. Quarterback question is who's playing quarterback for them? Right now it's Drew Pine or Bo.
It's going to have to be one of those two guys because Zeller's, like I said, Zeller's just destroyed.
Yeah, Zeller's done. I think it's going to be Bo. I think they paid Bo big money to come out there. Actually, Drew Pine is gone. He's graduated. So it's going to be the quarterback from Penn State. Now we get to see what Bo Prabula looks like. That's going to be the question. So we'll know by then. Then you wrap your season up, LSU. LSU game, that's the game I think is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hard game.
What is LSU? I mean, obviously, everybody's playing at the fullest strength of your capability based off what we saw this past year.
Yep.
I don't know. I still that was literally one of the most amazing returns to the game of a player I've ever seen. I mean, that was like Jordan, with the flu type of game from Nussmeier this year. We had him pretty well in check, and he goes down, comes back out, and he must have had a personal vendetta about something. So,
Something.
but yeah, they're going to be good, and they're gonna have a lot of expectations. So,
And the good thing for them too is they replaced Bryce Underwood that they lost with Michael Van Buren. You bring in Van Buren at quarterback to be right behind, which I like Michael Van Buren. I don't care nobody say I wanted him to come to Oklahoma. That was the second quarterback I wanted to come in the class with Michael Hawkins. Van Buren, I think he can ball. So you got Van Buren as the backup to Nussmeier. So if anything goes down with him, you got him that's going to be able to come in, and he's played in the SEC. We've seen him play in games last year at Mississippi State. So
I just say this: everybody's going to take cracks. I think Bauer Sharp has the opportunity to look really good on the stat sheet. I think that LSU fans will be annoyed as hell with him because they're going to see game in, game out some of the stuff that he does. But don't be surprised if, when he comes to town, he's, got 400 or 500 yards and, several touchdowns. Like, they're going to put him to use, and because they've got a lot of other tools, and he doesn't have to be the number one guy.
yeah, I'm opposite of you, Coop. I think Bauer is going to be really good for them, and I say that because he doesn't have to be the number one option. He's not number one. He's a 3 or 4 down the line, but he'll contribute. I still like Bauer, and what the bad part for him here was he literally was the only player that was quote unquote that Jackson Arnold felt like he could believe in.
Well, yeah.
That's where your issues lied.
Well,
The
I'm not
offense
saying
had to
he's
run
going
through
to have
a
a
guy.
bad
It
year.
sucked.
I just think that there's so many other options for them that he's going to be the 4th or 5th option. And
I agree. I agree.
But I also think that there's going to be times that he misses a block or something. So I think the LSU fans will, have a bittersweet relationship with Bauer Sharp. I just think he's going to be more productive there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. I think he's going to be way more productive there because they're not going to have him do everything. He just comes in when they need him to, and they do some extra stuff. As long as he need to block, he's going to be a receiving tight end. He's not going to be really a blocker. And I think that that's where we would have loved for him to be in, but we couldn't do that. We couldn't afford it. So that's the schedule, Coop. How do you feel your initial, after looking at it with our pickups of picking up the number, now he's the number 2, which I don't know how he's done.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
No, number 2, John Mateer is number 1. He's top player in the portal, whatever, based on production and everything, because he did both passing and running. But I digress. Now that we have the number 2 player in the portal, in the most important position we needed, we like our young players coming back because we bring back a lot of young ones. What is your record today?
Jay, I think it's a 9-3 season. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I think that as we get closer to the season starting, I think I'm going to have a feeling about this team next year, kind of how I felt about the men's basketball team.
Yeah, I can see that.
I did not get too excited at 10-0, 11-0, or whatever when we were playing, other teams from out of conference. I said I wanted to see what happens when you get a couple games in conference before I feel really optimistic about the team, and I kind of was proven right. So with this one, we're going to be able to see pretty quickly, even in the early games, Michigan included, that, is there something different about this team? Does this team actually have the capability to lean on something, whether that's John Mateer, whether that is the running game in general? I think that we will be able to see that pretty early because you saw what this offense was this year. Even in the early of the season, we were there together every single one of those games, and you just knew that there was an issue, and it was a bad issue. So if what I think is a conservative viewpoint of offense happens, I think 9-3 is a perfectly acceptable outcome, especially with that schedule.
Yeah, I think that is 9-3 is fair. This is barring injury again. I'm waiting to see what Vegas is going to come out. I am very intrigued, and I do think that y'all are going to be very surprised at what Vegas drops. Just being honest, once Vegas actually gets us a futures number, which will happen after the national championship, y'all going to be surprised. I don't even think it's going to be 7.5. It's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be lower or a heck of a lot higher. They're gonna play people on they're gonna make people bet on Oklahoma. one way or the other. And it's going to be because it's going to be ridiculous numbers. Either be 6.5 or it's going to be 9.5.
Or 9.5.
That's what I think is going to be. 8.5 probably is a safe number too. But I think it's going to be a ridiculous number. And everybody's going to look at this like, what? That's stupid. And they're going to do it based upon the schedule. The schedule is very favorable. The Michigan game being right there at the second game of the season, what Michigan's returning, it's going to be a challenge. And then the bye weeks are strategic. They've got we play no back-to-back road games. Week over week. Every game is lined up. It'll be stupid. And if it's 9.5, everybody's going to take the under, and that to me is where Vegas wants you to go. It's just that I just look at the schedule and how favorable it is. Like, this is dumb. Like Texas, I get Texas's gripe about theirs. Like, when I looked at it, I'm like, dang, they got y'all literally have all the tough games back to back.
And guys, just in the chat, just so I'm saying, like, if the number is 9.5, Vegas is putting it there because they think that OU is going to actually do well. And everybody, they know that all the money is going to be based off of what happened last year, which I think last year was a complete anomaly. I think that it was I think the offensive inefficiencies were exposed because of the injuries, and we should probably be thankful of that. Because otherwise, we go 8-4 last year. We're still probably just as disappointed because we just had the masking of a lot of inefficiencies. Maybe the same types of portal outreach leaves. Maybe Jackson Arnold's still here. I mean, just think of that. Like, if we didn't have those injuries, the injuries forced us to fix some wrongs, and we were very, very, very lucky to have that happened.
Yep.
Do I hate it still? Yeah, I still hate it. Would I rather have 10 wins? 100%. I'm just saying you got to realistically look at this. Like, at one point, 2025 was national championship year for us, and that was just like 2 years ago. That was our kind of look ahead. Well, now it is. All of us are super excited and damn near don't believe that 9-3 is attainable. So look at. I mean, that still is a pretty big fall back from what the initial expectations were.
Yep. Man, just looking at the schedule, it's lining up just right. I am really curious about how they're going to do 26 when they decide if they're going to do the 9-game conference schedule or not. So it's going to be interesting. We won't have that. We'll probably find that out sometime this season, probably late season. They'll make a decision. Actually, they may do it at SEC Media Days. We may actually get a full year's worth of schedule at that point.
But I don't even know if you can fully ever see that as something that is going to end up happening, just because I think that the conference realignment stuff is not over also. And I mean, like, if they start moving us to 9 for 26, it's almost like I'll believe it in July of 26, that's actually going to happen. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. We'll know. College football is moving so fast. Like, if you go to ESPN.com right now, they're already talking about maybe doing tweaks to the format next year.
Yep, they've already started talking about that. They're tweaking the format for which I expect them to tweak it. I hope they go ahead and negotiate the contracts for the playoffs going forward and basically tear this current one up and move all the playoff games to the home stadiums. Do it on campus.
All of them.
All of them up until the championship game. Actually, into the semifinals. I want the first two rounds on campus. Give me the semis, which is, your Final Four. Give me your Final Four and your championship at neutral sites. But give me, actually, if you really want to get froggy, I do everything on home stadiums into the national championship and give us back those bowl games. Make those fun again.
So,
because people are going to travel to those games. People kept watching bowl games even with these playoffs. Like, the bowl games were up in numbers. We're watching those bowl games. I enjoy watching bowl games.
Yeah, I would say this is I think you get rid of the buys. Like, I think whether that means adding a few more teams, I'm okay with that. Let's get rid of the buys if we're going to go ahead and do that one. I mean, at that point, do we talk about I don't even want to get into like getting rid of conference championships because I still think that was extremely favorable for Texas, and Penn State. They lost their. I mean, there were teams that didn't have to play in conference championships, and they were well rested. They were ready to go. They didn't have to play the extra game. So I think that there's, if you go to an expanded team format and you get rid of the buys, like let's do them all on campus. I'm okay with that.
I'm here for the campuses. That's gonna be so much more fun. I'm here for that. Give me campus fun. So all right, we're a little over. We're gonna get out of here. Thank you for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5, and we will chop it up with all of you sometime later this week. Maybe Wednesday night, maybe Thursday night. We'll see, but we'll keep the consistent Sundays going and go from there. Y'all have a good night.